Hello, everyone. Welcome to the refresher course in biomedical content writing. I'm your speaker for today's session. My name is Dr. Lakshmi Vaswani, and I'm a medical content writer and a clinical pathologist by training. I'm the founder of HealthVerse, and we help healthcare brands to build their online presence. Today's topic will be keyword research and making your content searchable. In this content, we will be looking at keywords and their importance, what keyword research is, what our aim is with keyword research, what terms like user intent and target personas, what they mean, the types of keywords we're looking for, and the ideal keyword to use in your content, your methods for keyword research, and how we would insert these keywords into our content to make it sound as natural as possible. So first, when we're looking at keywords, we need to define what they are. Keywords are specific words that tell Google the topics that your content covers. Google looks through your content to find particular terms that represent the ideas that your content covers, and Google can better match users with the right websites that way. Now, we use keywords as writers. We would use keywords for journal articles and case reports that we give to for submission. In our abstract, we always include a line for keywords. And this is so that the journal that we're submitting to or the organization we're submitting to can categorize our content or categorize our articles in their system. The same way Google is, of course, the biggest library in the world. So they would need guidance on where to kind of segregate or categorize our content. So for instance, if somebody looked for in the Google search bar, they would look for benefits of green tea. This is the article that Google would throw up at them because this has mentioned benefits and green tea multiple times in their content, and these would be the keywords for this particular piece. Now, when we're looking at keyword research, we need to understand that it's the process by which we research popular search terms that people will type into search engines like Google and include them strategically in your content so Google knows to pick up your content for those keywords. It can be just a single word, it can be a group of words, it can be a phrase, it can be a question. But the aim is that we use these words strategically so that the content appears higher on a search engine results page. For the purpose of this, we would be using Google as our search engine, but other search engines also include Yahoo or Bing. Because Google is the most widely used search engine, we'll be using that term in this presentation. So why is keyword research important? Keyword research is the guiding force of your SEO efforts. It helps you better understand your target audience and who you're writing for. It gives you insight into what they're actually searching for. It helps you create topics that they want to know about. And it helps you find related topics, build out your content hubs and spokes, and link them to each other, and find ways to promote your content using keywords on different platforms. On social media platforms, keywords are also called hashtags. They work in the same way. It's basically a way for the social media platforms to categorize content and make it easier for people to look for that particular piece of content. So the idea is that if nobody is searching for what you're writing about, then your site or your blog probably won't receive any traffic from Google. What is our aim with keywords? The aim is to understand what topics your audience cares about, so you can create content that answers their questions, solves their problems, and ranks well in search engines. We need to look at what terms people are searching for. What are the words they're putting into their Google search bars? How many people are searching for it? How popular is that topic? What format do they want to receive this information in? Are they looking for a blog? Are they looking for an explanatory video? Are they looking for an image? How difficult will it be to rank for that search query? How much competition do you have for that particular search? How has keyword research changed over the years? Now, earlier in Google's lifetime, we all know that Google is an algorithm, right? It's a software that is used to throw up content information at us. So in the early 2000s, we as humans figured this out. We figured that if we could put in a lot of keywords in our content, Google was most likely to rank it higher, right? So we had a lot of keyword stuffing, which meant that we use the same keyword repetitively in a piece of content without it making much sense, right? We're not thinking about the user. We're not looking at the person who's actually searching for this content. Our aim was to rank high. So we were using very thin content, very thin filler content. We weren't really answering what our users wanted to know. And the algorithm at this point was not advanced enough to understand the difference. It was only focused on search volume or the number of times your keyword came in your content. However, it evolved over time. The algorithm has evolved over time to the present day where it focuses on quality content. It looks at the way you've done your research. It looks at the way that you've presented your keywords. And it also looks at whether you have fulfilled what your user is looking for. For example, if you say that your blog is about a topic like gut microbiome, but your entire content is about, it's about a particular probiotic supplement and the advantages of that probiotic supplement, you have not answered your user's question, because your user has a specific question: what is gut microbiome, right? So, and your content has gone into a probiotic and the advantages of that probiotic. It's not matching. So Google would know the difference at this point of time and would not rank your content high enough for users to get at it. How do we know who we're writing for? As writers, we have to understand in the online world, we may be writing for two different sets of audiences. We may be writing for patients or consumers, and we are looking, that's called B2C content, right? Or we're looking to write for another industry or another business or another organization within the healthcare industry. For example, a laboratory or a big scale lab would be writing their blog to attract consumers, yes, but they would also be looking to attract maybe tie-ups with other organizations, with other corporates, with a hospital. So they're also writing for doctors, they're also writing for scientists, right? So their content would be both. Similarly, when we're writing a piece of content, we need to understand who we're writing for, and that person is called our target persona, right? So when we are imagining our target persona, we would write down demographic information about them. We would write down their age, their gender, their profession. What could they be struggling with? What are their pain points? So we create broad topics and smaller topics around that. So it gives us ideas as to what that person will be searching for. The aim here is now when we want to write a blog on gut microbiome, right? That blog could go two ways. If we look at who we're writing for, imagine now that we're writing for a woman. It's Women's Day in March, and we need a blog that caters to women, yes, but also the general audience. So we think about a young professional, maybe in her 20s to 30s. Her concerns would be maybe stress and acidity and how it affects gastric health, constipation and how diet is related to it. She may be suffering from adult acne or struggling with weight loss and was wondering how her gut microbiome or gut health would help with that. On the other hand, when we're looking at persona 2, we think about a man in his 40s or 50s. His concerns would be different. He may be, of course, worried about stress, acidity, constipation, and weight loss, but he may also be worried about overall health and immunity, and may also be worried about how gut health affects his children. So because he's at a different stage of life, the kind of content he would be interested in would be different from, say, a woman in her 20s or 30s. So when we are looking at target personas, how would that affect the way that we write content? So taking the first example, a woman, we would look at writing topics, yes, about gut microbiome, but we would look at how does gut microbiome affect your skin, and looking at the gut-skin axis. What gut healthy foods can you eat to reduce your acne? Is coffee or tea bad for gut health? Can gut microbiomes help with weight loss? Why does what I eat affect my mood? and the gut-brain axis. These are the kind of things that she would be looking at in Google, as opposed to maybe the man who's looking at how does that microbiome affect my acidity levels, what changes can I make in my diet or in my children's diet to improve their gut health. And if he's looking after or he's going to the gym, then can protein powders affect my gut health? So again, different people have different priorities when they're using Google. Which brings us to what is intent of search. There we're looking at what is the purpose behind an online search? With what purpose does a person go to Google to look at a particular piece of content, right? And Google wants to make sure that it is accommodating to that person, that it finds the best fit for the search term that someone is using, and it throws up information that fits the search intent behind the query. So here we're looking at the 4 types of user search intent. First, we would look at navigational. Navigational is when the user tries to find a certain site and get to it. Here we're assuming that the user already knows that Healthline, CDC, and AIMS are the best resources for the information he wants. So he goes straight to these resources and starts looking for it there. So he would type in www.healthline.com. He's very sure of what website he wants to go to. Then there's informational. The user is collecting information or learning about a field or product or service. So they know about a topic and they want to know more about it. So they would put in keywords like, what is a gut microbiome? How does it affect the skin? Then we move on to commercial. The user has already decided to purchase a product or a service and is seeking more information about it. So now the user has already done their research on what a gut microbiome is, on what a probiotic is, and now wants to do something about it. So then they're looking for best probiotic in India, best lab for allergy testing, right? Because this is an action that they want to take and they're looking for the best options for that. Then we move on to transactional, where the user is prepared to perform some sort of web-mediated activity, which means they are now ready to do something, create an action online. So here they're looking to buy XYZ probiotic supplement, or book a blood test for gluten allergy, or maybe buy a book on probiotics. These are all things that require them to either to conduct a transaction, either give email address or their own information, or even give payment, right? So most medical content is information. Most of what we write is to inform our consumers or users about medical terms, about the research that goes into it, maybe new advances. So a lot of what we write is informational content. Now we're looking at types of keywords. When we look at types of keywords, we look and we need to know these terminologies so that we make sure that we use the right mix of keywords later on. We have primary and secondary keywords. Here, the primary keyword is like at the core of your content. You know that this is what your content is about. So when we're writing again a blog on gut microbiome has to be your first keyword. And that's your evergreen keyword. It is the most searched for keyword. It is usually one-word phrases. It's the most generic. Then we move on to secondary keywords. Now, secondary keywords can be shorter or longer. So when we're looking at short keywords, we're looking at 2 to 3 word phrases. It's a broad topic, but it is more narrowed than the one-word keywords. So it is like, if your primary keyword was gut microbiome, your secondary would be gut microbiome and mood swings. You're trying to associate it with a particular condition, right? So that would be short. Now we're looking at long tail, okay, which are phrases with 4 or more keywords. They're targeted phrases for very specific results. You're niching down even more. So in that case, you're looking for which foods would help with my gut microbiome and moods, right? We're now narrowing it down even further. We started with gut microbiome. We narrowed it down to mood swings, and then we're narrowing it down to which foods would help with gut microbiome and mood swings. So this is how we're going from primary to secondary keywords. The thing about the primary keywords is that it's obviously searched more often. There will be a lot more people looking for gut microbiome as opposed to people who are looking for gut microbiome, moods, and food, right? So the amount of times this is going to show up in Google is going to be a lot more than the amount of times these words are going to be in Google. But you would have the highest chance of getting someone to read your article or read your content using these words, simply because there's just too much competition for these words. Supposing you are starting a blog and you are writing a blog on or an article on gut microbiome, Healthline, the CDC, WHO, a lot of really powerful websites have already written a large amount of content on gut microbiome. So compared to their websites, your website may not rank, or your content may not rank high enough for people to read it. So in order to get people to read your work, it is better to write more niched content and also incorporate keywords that are targeted to a very small section so that it builds your website's visibility. Other types of keywords that we may use, not so often in medical writing, but they are used as well, is if you're writing product or service-based keywords. So then you should incorporate, if you're writing on behalf of a lab, labs that test for gut microbiome would be one thing that your content would need. If you're looking at, again, a very niched target audience, like for children, then restoring gut microbiome in children would be an example of a keyword you would use. And location, again, here you're targeting a person who really knows what they want. So they would be looking at Delhi labs that test for gut microbiome. So you would be, maybe writing about a specific location for a specific service. Now that we know what keywords are and we know their importance as far as Google is concerned, we should look at what are the ideal keywords to use when we have so many, right? So we must understand two definitions before we move on. The first is search volume. The search volume is the average monthly searches, or how many times has this word come up in user searches in a particular search engine. Competition can be high or low. When we say that the competition for this keyword is high, we mean that too many people are using this word in their content and you may not be able to compete with them. Whereas low competition means that not many people are using this word in their content, so you may be able to get an audience by using these words. Now, how do we find out this information? This is where you need keyword research tools. The most popular tools right now are Google AdWords, RFs, Moz, and SEMrush. They both have both free and paid versions. Google AdWords and keyword research tool is free for now. So that is the one we're going to use in this. It's also the most user-friendly. Now, whatever keyword research tool you use, it would open up somewhere like this. You would have similar text boxes. The idea is that you enter the keywords, products, services that are related to the topic that you want to write about. So if you're writing about gut microbiome, we're looking at gut-brain axis, gut bacteria, good bacteria, healthy bacteria in the gut. These are all things that topics that you would include if you were writing a blog on gut microbiome, right? So you could then press enter, and then the software would throw up a bunch of keywords that they feel would also work well in your content, right? So here we're looking at two columns, average monthly searches and competition. So while we're looking at best probiotic, you would want to include that in your content. Look at the average monthly searches. It's relatively high. It's 1,000 to 10,000. searches, so that's a good keyword to use. But when you look at the competition, you see that it's very high, right? So a lot of people are, already have this kind of content available online. So the chances are that your content may not be seen if you only use this keyword. But a word like acidophilus, the average monthly searches is a little bit lower than this, but the competition is relatively low. So the chances of you or your content being featured for this keyword is higher. So you have more chances of people reading your content if you use this particular type of keyword. So you need a combination of high volume and low competition keywords. So you would use a mix of these two in your content. Now, when we're looking at methods for keyword research, we're looking at different ways in which we can get the most ideal keywords for our content. The best way is to use tools, of course, but before we get to that, we can look at how content research itself can help us get our keywords. So when we decide what topic we're going to write about, we research the topic online. We find subtopics, ideas, or viewpoints to include in your article. A key tip here is a website that's called answerthepublic.com. This is how the site opens. You put in your keyword and press search, and they give you a mind map of all the potential topics that you can cover, as well as really good ideas for long-term keywords, like how to research gut microbiome, or can you change your gut microbiome? These are things that people are actually looking for on Google. So if you incorporate these words in your content, Google will like your content and probably rank it better because it feels like you're answering the people's questions. Now, another key tip that we're using when we're doing content research is you yourself would obviously search for this content on Google. So you would put in your keyword like gut microbiome and look at two spaces in your Google search page. One is the autocomplete section. So when you put in gut microbiome, Google throws up other options that people have used when they're looking. So we could look at the test. We could look at gut microbiome and mental health and get an idea. Gut microbiome affecting skin, hair, and weight. These are all things that you can get content ideas from, and automatically these are your long tail keywords. Right? Now, another section we could look at is related searches, which is at the end of your search page. Here is again a really good idea for your long tail keywords because these are keywords that people are looking for: gut health and skin problems, gut skin probiotic, diet and skin microbiome, gut skin axis. So you would find a lot of ideas or a lot of ways to incorporate these words in your content. Now we go to the actual tool, which is their Google keyword tool, and this is where you would find the right keyword. Like we said before, now again, we've opened it to Google Ads. This is available for free in your Google account. So you would put in the words that you've done your research, you've narrowed down a few keywords that you would like to use in your content, and you want to know how they rank in Google or how popular they are in Google, and should we use these keywords or not. So you could put in your keywords like gut microbiome, healthy bacteria, etc. Google Keywords also gives you an option to enter a domain to use as a filter, which means that if you found a really good article on gut microbiome and you want to know, and that's your competition, and you want to know what kind of keywords they have used, you can enter that URL detail over here, and Google will take that into consideration and throw up keywords that they have used as well. So now we look at when you press get results, this is the page that you would get. You will get the keywords that you chose to incorporate and the results for that, as well as keyword ideas that Google thinks you should incorporate in your content as well. So we're looking at average monthly searches and competition again. We're looking at how many times the keyword has been searched for in a month, right? Probiotics over here is 10,000 to 100,000, and there's low competition. So this is a good keyword to use. Right. At the same time, you have prebiotics, which is a good word to use, and lactobacillus, again, which has low competition. So these gives you ideas as to what more you can write about and what words you can incorporate in your content to get it more seen. The next question is, now you have your keyword list. You have an idea of what words you want to use in your content. How would you do it? How many times would you do it? Where would you do it? Now, we already spoke about keyword stuffing. Google does put a lot of importance in keyword stuffing. It wants to make sure that you don't overuse the words so that they end up sounding unnatural, which will basically turn both readers and Google off. So the idea is to use keywords in the right density or the right amount. So most SEO experts believe that an ideal keyword density is around 1 to 2%. This means that the target keyword appears about 1 to 2 times per 100 words. The idea is to make it sound natural, so it should be used in the title, in the subheadings, within the first few lines of the blog, and in the conclusion. In this way, you know that you're using enough keywords so that Google can find your content, but not too many keywords so that it sounds weird or sounds like a machine wrote it instead of a human being. With that, we end our session on keyword research. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.